And
or let me hold $5,000 real quick.
Well, borrowing large sums of money came later, but it was his time that I needed at that time.
Mm-hmm.
He always would slip in how much money he helps me with. But anyway, but that ended up being a beautiful blessing that, and that's why I tell people about, research, learn the game, learn the rules to the game, just like Monopoly, which was our favorite game when we were kids. Once you know the rules to the game, you can find a exit strategy, a solution to whatever your real estate problem is.
Right. Absolutely. I like it. I'm really big on family, so I think it's cool that you guys work as a family. So we'll touch on that. I think there's a hack in working with the people close to you.
Definitely. And our mother, she really instilled that in us. I mean, she's the one who really started our real estate journey and our passion for real estate, because we watched her do all the renovations to the home that we grew up in. And, the property that we own in the Bahamas, our mother's from the Bahamas, so we have property down there. We currently have a new construction that we're working on right now with several more that we're going to be putting right next to it.
I want to interject with that. There's a whole lot of Black folks in the United States, just like in the Bahamas, that own undeveloped land that never gets developed. So for our mother to not only show us, like, we're going to develop this acre of land into duplexes, but also say, hey, you're going to go down there with me every time I go down there.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just a thing of, I hope this works out so I can inherit it one day,
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, you can learn a lot from being hands-on. And actually, that's what, I think in all these radio and TV interviews we've done, I kind of never really get around to just saying how much shadowing our mother as teenagers, or even younger than that, shadowing her as she went to Home Depot to buy supplies, as she went to go speak to contractors about the type of work that she needed to get done. And we're sitting there kind of like her little bodyguards, standing right behind her, but we were absorbing all of this information. Right. And it didn't really apply. When we were younger, I didn't really imagine myself buying a property or doing the renovations, but I still learned all of that through observation.
I think it gives you confidence, and it also gives you kind of an advantage when you're out there doing work. I've experienced something similar, but it was in a different field. I was a CPA. And so I always tell people, like, when I was taking accounting classes, I always had an advantage over everybody, because I could always circle back and ask her. I could always get on the phone and ask her. I've seen her studying for the classes, all that different kind of stuff. So it's like, it's just a similar thing where you saw your mom doing it. So then you get this confidence, then you get this. It's not like a hope anymore. It's like, we're going to make this happen. And I think that's different, because a lot of people they're like speculating. So let's kick off the intro. It's so funny because a lot of the content, a lot of the really good conversation comes in that pre-show. So I get kind of caught.
That's not the show. We didn't even start yet.
Rashauna told me.
I wanted you guys to meet each other and just kind of say, hey, this is who I am. This is the warm-up for the show.
I'm a storyteller from the beginning. I'm always on.
That's how I am too. I'm the same way, because I'm like, I don't know when the interview starts. Did it start already?
Right. So let's get it going. I'll kick off the intro, and then Rashauna, I'm going to let you introduce them. And then we'll just get into the questions and the conversation.
Okay. I'll probably ask them to do the same thing, though. Just introduce yourselves.
Yeah, I like it. This is the Ty Capital Millionaire Podcast. This is episode number 105. I think that's right, Rashauna.
It's right.
That's right. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Ty Millionaire, founder and director of the Ty Capital Investment Club, also founder of Ty Acquisitions. Make sure you all leave us a rating or review, preferably a 5-star review. Like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. The purpose of this podcast is to share the stories of successful African-American business owners and investors so that people can hear the stories of successful examples because they exist. We want people to learn the business and investing in the true keys to financial success and generational wealth. With us today, we have two special guests. They have a special relationship with Rashauna Scott, and I want her to introduce them, please.
Well, yes. Well, thank you so much for having me on again as co-host. I've enjoyed being here so far. So I think we got a good run going for us. But yeah, so we have the Downing brothers joining us today, who are firefighters by day and house flippers by night, or on the weekend, on, you know, however many other hours you have in the day to, you know, do what it is that you love to do. So thank you so much, Anthony and Anton, for joining us. Thanks so much for being here, guys.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Happy.
So tell us a little bit about yourselves, how you got into real estate and the dynamic between being a firefighter and flipping houses.
Well, our real estate journey starts back in 2007. Prior to the recession, I bought a condo, and I was so happy. I was 25 years old and just so happy to buy my first property. And at the time, own my own car, own this, own that. You know, I had fulfilled what I had felt was the American dream, and then the recession hit. But instead of, like many other people, just giving up and throwing my hands up and walking away from the property, I continued to pay my mortgage, keep my credit up, study the game, you know, the real estate game, much like the game of Monopoly. There are rules to the game, and learn that about other financial products like a 203K rehab loan, which I was able to exercise. And in the process of doing the flip of the second property and holding on to the first one, I kept my credit up and also learned how to do a renovation. And then that's where my brother came in.
Nice.
Yeah. This is Anton down in, the second down in Twin. You know, as I'm sure Anthony's going to emphasize throughout this podcast. You know, I didn't start off the same way as Anthony, because I went with multi-unit buildings right out the gate, where he went with a condo and then, you know, renovating a Greystone. So but I also use FHA loans.
Mm-hmm.
I got a 3-unit apartment building for $153,000. Yes, the market in Chicago can do that. And then I refinanced it so that I could use FHA again for the second 3-unit apartment building. You know, you write a little.
You refinanced it into what?
Oh yeah, I refinanced it into a conventional loan, so, making me eligible to use FHA again. Just writing a little letter saying that I'm going to buy this next 3-unit in a better neighborhood. Of course, I'm going to live there, and that the square footage is bigger. Because oftentimes, if you're going to buy the same type of property a second time, you would have to put 20% down. But because, you know, I wrote this letter stating that this is going to be a better situation, or a bigger property, you know, and because I didn't have an FHA loan anymore because of the refinance of the first loan, I was eligible to use that FHA a second time.
And again, I want to interject right here. Again, for all of our listeners, you know, I just want them to understand, like, this, again, is learning the rules to the game. If you know the rules and what you're eligible to do, there is nothing wrong with, you know, going down a path. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, what I learned, for instance, I had an FHA loan on the condo, but I also had an FHA 203K rehab loan, because I learned the rules of the game, and I was able to write the letter that said I was moving from a condo situation into a single family home. And, you know, as long as you know what the rules are and you follow them to the T, then you make yourself eligible to be able to transition into another situation that you weren't aware of.
So my question is, how does one go about learning the rules?
Man, you know what? To me, with the power of the internet and curiosity, you can just really Google in, because that's what I did. I just Google searched, you know, how to buy a. Well, actually, I guess I was curious about how to do a renovation, mm-hmm. but I know I didn't have the cash to just do it all out, just all cash buy. And that's how I found out about the rehab loan. Mm-hmm. And that was just from me typing into Google over and over again, different scenarios, and reading all the articles. Right. And then also developing relationships with loan officers at the banks, because they know all the different scenarios right. that you can use to get in and out of different real estate situations.
Nice.
I think across many podcasts, like Bigger Pockets, Earn Your Leisure, places like that, you'll find that they will talk about using small banks, using credit unions. They have just better interest rates. They have better products in general. And I started off with both those 3-unit buildings with Illinois Service Federal, which is a black bank, and a small bank, right? Because they only have like a couple of locations. And I think that it's important to know that bigger banks are going to have more complicated or more stringent rules, right, than the credit union or the small bank.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I'm glad that you mentioned, Anthony, in regards to Googling, because I say that all the time. Like, the information that we need to know today is literally at your fingertips. And the great thing about it is that this is 10 years ago that you're talking about. And so you were able to figure it out, as far as how to, different ways to get in and out of real estate by still utilizing these, small conventional loans, FHA loans. Like, was it the same for you, Anton, that you knew, that you should refi into a conventional? Like, was that just also researching on the internet? And then how did you know to write a letter? Was it because, that's what your brother told you? Or like, how did you know to write a letter?
What I did is when I went back to Illinois Service Federal, I went there to the same loan officer and I said, look, man, I don't have 20% to put down on a $225,000 3-flat right now. Like, but I still want this property. I want this property right now. And he was like, okay, write this letter. Because sometimes we have to remember, man, these loan officers are only going to get paid if they can get these loans for you. So they're going, if they're good loan officers, they're going to tell you what they need to tell you to get it done.
Right.
And if they can't do that, then you need to move along to the next bank or the next brokerage.
Yeah, I just want people to understand, especially people from that are in their 20s, in the very beginning, educating themselves on a journey, how important developing relationships with people in the industry is. Because if you have relationships with realtors, with loan officers, with people, with inspectors, I mean, you look at all the real estate professionals, you have to have personal relationships with these people because they are aware of the trends and the new financial products and the new ways to move in and out of real estate transactions. And so these personal relationships, like, you can't just stay at home and wish things to happen for you. Like, you have to, like, for instance, that real estate and financial wealth building seminar that I went, what was that, just a couple nights ago that we went to?
Mm-hmm.
It's programs like those where you meet people so that you can develop those relationships. And while I was there was like 4 or 5 people who came up to me and was like, who are you and what's your name? And, because they had a little icebreaker, and I told them who I was and about my real estate journey. And then that person then told me their story. And then you, from those interactions, you learn how people got in the real estate game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how they, and for those who are winning and have a little bit of notoriety, those are the ones you just go to, like, an insect to the light.
So we kind of skipped over this, and I didn't mean to, but can you guys give us like a 1-minute bio of what led you to where you are now, like growing up, what that was like, and then I guess like an early life?
Okay, we have somewhat of an immigrant story with our mother coming to this country from the Bahamas, and it had a big impact. Particularly, our mother had a big impact on our real estate journey because she inherited undeveloped land. We came from a culture where everybody owned their house. People didn't rent like in the Bahamas. There's a little bit of 3-unit buildings and things like that, but because of hurricanes and things, most people live in houses, And so when she came here and married my father and they got a house by the time we were 9 months old, and moving forward from there, She wanted to have rental income just so she wouldn't have to work 2 jobs, which is great because the second property, it only had like a monthly income of like $300, but we're talking about the 90s. That was enough for her not to have to work a second job. So watching her do that and riding around with her, going to these open houses and just being with her when she talked to contractors, and then when she said, I'm gonna take it a step further now that you fast forward into when we're out of college at this point. I want y'all to come with me to the Bahamas to develop this acre of land we have so we can start building duplexes. And along every step of the way, we were there with her. And that made me confident, made both of us confident in buying a rental income and then getting into flipping after, let's see, I owned a couple of 300 buildings at this point. That's when Anthony came to me and said, yo, we need to start flipping. So, yeah.
Right. And, I guess piggybacking on what my brother was talking about, back in 2007, buying a condo, and then in 2012, doing the renovation of a 3,000 square foot Greystone on the south side of Chicago. And then from there, selling that property a couple of years later, and then taking $80,000, right, with no capital gains because it was my primary residence. Walked away with $80,000 in cash and was like, okay, let's start flipping properties. And then, going from there, we flipped a 3-flat, and we flipped a single family home. And in the midst of, and also, and then I also bought another multi-unit. So, we had a buy and hold strategy and then also a flip strategy simultaneously. So we had both of those things going on. And then getting, I guess, quote unquote, discovered by Hgtv in the process. And I think that's the crazy thing because, we sat up there, how many hours did we sit up there, with our mom watching all the shows on Hgtv, and then, anybody who's into real estate and interior design or flipping houses, you're watching Hgtv, but never really thinking like, oh, I'll be on Hgtv myself. So, and so that thing happened. It kind of just fell on our lap because we didn't pursue it. It came to us. And then, continuing that, with the renovation that we're about to start in a couple of weeks. So it's just like everything. It was like this elevation thing. It's like you started on the ground floor, and we stepped on the elevator, and we went from to the first floor, to the second floor, to the third floor. We just small steps, more confidence, more money, more experience, more a big network. And now we're at the point where things are starting to come to us. Like, at one point you're chasing everything, and now things are starting to come to us, and we can make better decisions with all the experience and wisdom. Because I want to tell you this too, it wasn't easy. It may sound easy when I say all the things that we did and or are currently doing, but we lost money. We had bad contractors. I don't know anybody who hasn't had at least one bad contractor.
They're all dead.
Right. When you laugh, I'm like,
he said, I'll testify.
The image of that bad contractor came straight to his face the way he But we bumped our heads. We were pissed off about a lot of things that happened. But the key was never giving up. Never saying this wasn't for us just because a couple of things went wrong. And and of course it's a blessing, right? I have my twin brother, I got my mother. We have our other family members who give us moral support. And then we have a network of friends, and now people that we don't even know who follow us and encourage us to keep doing what we're doing, because I guess the one thing that I care about now too is that we're an example to other people of what is possible. Because right. There's enough real estate out here for everybody. You're in Detroit, right? Right. Like people are all across the country listening to this podcast, and there's thousands of opportunities. But there's also going to be, hurdles, and there's going to be bad situations, but you just can't give up.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's actually what I was going to ask next. So like you said, you guys started out house flipping. So how many houses have you flipped to date? I got a couple questions. How many houses have you flipped to date? Within those challenges, I mean, were you ever ready to like just throw in the towel and say like this, you know, this real estate thing, you know, I don't know if this is going to work for us anymore. And then also within real estate, you mentioned that, you know, you're doing some buy and hold simultaneously. So what's the end goal? So 3 different questions there.
All right. So as far as the flip question, essentially, besides the condo, which actually was brand new when I walked into it, besides that, we renovated every property that we owned, that we bought. Mm-hmm. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. That's 8 properties, and we had to renovate all of them. Because really our thing is, and I feel like, especially because I believe that a market correction is coming and a recession is coming, that it was always important for us to buy properties below market value. And if you're doing something below market value or significantly below market value, it's because it's a property that needs a lot of renovation.
A lot of love.
And we're not, and that's what we were built from. You know, not being afraid to get in there and have to renovate everything. Right. In order to have built-in equity, so that we can cushion ourselves, because that hurt and that sting from the recession on that first condo, I will never forget. Right. So for me, I'm always like, every property we get is like, how do we insulate ourselves from if the market drops from the bottom and everything is worthless? Well, you have to start off by buying a property below market value. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point. And then I guess any challenges that you guys have had along the way. I mean, obviously, you know, opening up walls, losing money, going over budget, you know, those challenges weren't, I guess it wasn't too significant to say, you know what, let's just forget real estate and just stick with being firefighters. Like, what was it that, you know, kept that drive?
I think repetition, because once we got into a repetition of what this is what we're gonna do, and okay, we're gonna renovate, and then we're gonna refinance, and then automatically is okay, what are we gonna do next? Because the minute that we stop doing a project, then you get into I'm just gonna do what everybody else is doing in my firehouse, or whoever, or your office, or wherever you work in America at this time. So I think that it never came into our minds to stop.
Okay.
Honestly.
Yeah. I've never even made that consideration. It's a lifestyle. It's a habit. I mean, you know, just like working out. Like, I love working out. You know, I love the feeling of working out. And if I do take a couple of weeks off and I stop, then I look at myself and say, man, what are you doing? Because that's not who you are. Who you are is someone who works out. You're someone who watches real estate, researches real estate, reads about it, listens to podcasts like this one. That's just a lifestyle. And I don't know any other way to be.
I love that because it's so ingrained into who you are. Oftentimes, you know, I talk to people and they're asking about like branding and social media, and they're like, well, how do I separate, you know, my personal life from my business? And I'm like, well, why would you? You know, because if it is who you are, then, you know, people do business with who they can relate with, right? Who's relatable and who's authentic. And if you're showing this is who I am and this is what I do and this is what I'm about, then like you mentioned earlier, Anthony, the business and the relationships and the deals will come to you because it's a part of who you are. You're not trying to hide it, and you can't hide it.
Right.
So I love it. So you guys, obviously, you mentioned a little, you know, just a few minutes ago, you guys have a newfound fame on HGTV with your with the pilot that aired. So tell us about that as much as you can.
So how that happened?
Yeah, I guess we can. Yeah, how it happened, and then, you know, where you guys are today with it. But yeah, how it happened.
Okay, well, we were helping our cousin renovate a 6-unit apartment building on the south side of Chicago, off of 74th and Jeffrey. And one of our guys that we went to college with at the University of Illinois, he said, he's like, I need to bring a director by one of your properties. We want to use like a basement for like a torture scene in his horror film. And I was like, oh, well, we just started renovating this 6-unit building. You can come by here. It definitely looks like a horror scene down here. So they came by and they looked around. His name is Troy Pryor, by the way. He runs the Creative Cipher. And after they took a look around, Troy said, just offhandedly, or at least it sounded pretty much like a nonchalant, hey, have y'all ever thought about doing a show on HGTV? Me and Anthony looked at him like, nah, man, this is just like a side thing that we're doing when we're not at the firehouse. He was like, but no, seriously. There's a production company in Chicago right now that's scouting for, for couples or pairs of investors for shows that are for people of color. Like, they're literally looking for minority content. And, from there, he literally put us on the phone with one of the producers and like on speakerphone, and we just did like a kind of like an interview over the speakerphone. Like, this is when he was getting ready to leave. Like, this was supposed to be a run of the mill type of situation, and it turned into, hey, I'm going to come by in a few days. And he came by with another young lady with a big red camera on her shoulder, and like, yeah, why don't you all like, rip down this crown molding right here real quick. Hey, can we have y'all look through this wall and just kind of smile right here? And then he was like, let's go outside and let me interview you outside and ask you a few questions. So we standing outside the building. And I'm like, this is really happening, huh? Okay. And then we didn't hear from him for months after that.
Yeah, like 4 months. Like, by the time they called us back, I forgot that we had even did that. Like, because
right.
Again, we weren't pursuing Hgtv. We weren't trying to get a TV show. We were just doing our renovations and going to the firehouse and just living our regular lives. And then I remember I was at a wedding in Mexico, in Cancun, when the Wi-Fi popped on, and I saw I missed like 20 messages because it was like, but my brother had responded to all the messages and stuff like that. And then by
Thank
the time,
God.
Yeah, right.
Hello?
Again, twin power. Somebody to have your back.
Right.
But he responded, and then they got us on three-way, and then tried to trick us into thinking that we didn't get the show with HGTV or whatever. And they say, no, they actually did fund the pilot, and now we got to find a property, and we got some paperwork we need to fill out. But yeah, you guys, we're gonna do this pilot, and you guys are gonna be on TV. I'm like, wow, okay, cool. I mean, the thing is, they were kind of disappointed that we weren't excited. Because again, it's like, oh, okay, that's great. I don't know. We're just not excitable by like TV, Hollywood, or celebrities. You know how some people get really excited about celebrities and TV and all stuff. It's just like, that's just not our thing. So, but just being ourselves is, and I think that's what really what got us there. Mm-hmm. And but the whole process took like almost from the day that we had that phone interview in the property to the point that it actually aired on TV was a year and a half. Mm. Now I'm saying that because at this point, so we aired on DIY in December, and then we aired on HGTV in January
of this year.
And in May, it's May now, and we still haven't signed a deal. We still haven't been offered a series deal. And so now it's like, okay, well, since that hasn't, but now the thing is, now we have caught the bug for TV. Because now that we've been on TV and we walk down the street in Chicago, like if I'm in Hyde Park, like people will stop me, like, oh yeah, you one of the Downer brothers, can you come fix my house, and all that kind of stuff. And I get this every day. Every day it's like somebody and either just recognizing us and being and supporting us and saying, man, it's great what y'all are doing. I can't wait to see what happens next. Or people who actually want to hire us, but we really don't work for other people. We only work on our own projects. But that's been exciting. But then because of that, we went on every TV station, every radio station, all these different podcasts, talking about our journey, talking about what we do. Because people, I believe people want to know the blueprint and they want to know that there's somebody else out there who has accomplished what they're trying to do that are regular people just like they are.
Right. You mentioned something. You mentioned twin power. And we also talked about just working as a family, working with your mom. But some people think they can't work with family. How have you guys been able to do it successfully?
I think our relationship is unique. Like most people trust and love their mother above everybody else, right? And then the rest of their family is like, eh. But because we were born twins, it I liken that trust and that love and to that relationship we have with our mother, because we know without a shadow of a doubt we can count on each other. Now, I'm not saying that everyone is going to get that relationship with their siblings or their cousins and things like that, but you do know them the best. You do know your family members the best. So,
yeah, and I think I think it's having a level of transparency and being consistent. And I think people talk about this all the time when it comes to any relationship, with a significant other or with family members or friends. It's like who is consistent, consistently shows up when you say, hey, I need you to show up to help me, do this particular activity. Someone who shows up with the money, someone who pays back the money when they say they're going to pay them back.
I know that's right.
Just being consistent. It starts with the small things, and then like everything else I've said in this conversation, it's starting small and then building up. Mm-hmm. So it was like, okay, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, I would have asked my brother for $100. You know what I'm saying? Then 5 years later, I was able to ask him for a couple thousand, and now I can say, oh, you know what? Hey, we need. I need $5,000 to be able to complete this transaction, and he's not concerned about whether he's going to get his money back or not because of all the history, the consistency.
Mm-hmm.
I would also like to say this: there's a difference between loaning your family money and investing with your family. There's two examples of this. The first one would be Nipsey Hussle and his brother Black Sam. Mm-hmm. They were in business together. They got the strip mall together. They were doing the properties in Atlanta together. They were doing it together. It wasn't like, oh, let me hold some money and I'll pay you back. They were in business together. Right. Rick Ross is another example. When his family members were coming to him, he asked them to come with a business plan. He didn't just give his mother and his aunt money. He was like, here, we're going to go in together on these wing stops. Mom, me and you are going to own this wing stop together. My aunt, same thing, this wing stop together. We're going to go into business together. And I think that having that type of relationship is not only is it safer, but it keeps people from feeling like, oh, I'm just going to keep running to you for money. No, we're going to make money together.
Right. So I think what's interesting about what you said is you just named two other immigrants, two other second-gen immigrants. And yeah. I think we have the mentality messed up where we think that we can't do business with our family when in fact those are the people we should be doing business with. You can be transparent with your family because at the end of the day, your family's not going anywhere. They can't run away. Like your brother can't run off with your business idea. I mean, he could if he wanted to, but he's not likely, especially if he's your twin. So I think that
right.
A lot of people think one way and it might be wrong. I think that focusing on the family is really the hack.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But I think it's about having skin in the game. Like just continue what my brother was saying, like, rather than just saying, give me the money, like, hey, let's go form an LLC together. Mm-hmm. Let's go get a business bank account together. Let's go purchase this property and go to this closing and sign for this property together. Right? Like it's the togetherness of the process of learning together and building together and benefiting together from the work. So it's just like, I think that's the one thing. It's like, man, go ahead and make a partner out of it. Don't just say, oh, I need to get some money from you like I'm trying to get money from a bank. Like develop partnerships, real partnerships.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful because in our community, that's lacking a lot. And, within the African American community, we have so many reasons as to why we can't. versus, why we can. And I actually read, this, I think it was literally just last night, saying, and it was a post that said something along those lines that nowadays, and not even nowadays, but again, just within the community, our community, as our elders, parents or grandparents, they get older, they're actually looking to the young ones, the younger ones, the daughters, the granddaughters, or the grandkids, to support them, to support up, where generational wealth is about supporting down, right? And supporting the generations that come after you, whereas in our community, it's almost inevitable. And then, I mean, we know that because we live it, but it's so true. And it seems to be the norm, right? It seems to be the norm that when your parents or your grandparents, they're down on hard times, that that they're going to ask you to help out. And of course you want to, you're going to, because, they took care of you or they raised you. But if we could get the culture to shift that mentality, to think, that again, this generational wealth is about me passing down, not about them passing up. I think we can, obviously really make a big impact across.
And you know what? I want to speak to solutions, right? Because you've identified a problem. So here's some solutions to that. If we're going to actually build generational wealth, meaning money that is passed down to the people after you, to your family after you, we have to have life insurance policies, okay? You need a term life insurance policy. You need a whole life insurance policy.
Right.
So it's not just, and then you own real estate. You have a will and a trust so that you can pass that real estate. So it's a smooth transaction after you pass away to your sons and daughters, nieces and nephews. So it's like life insurance and real estate that then passes on that wealth to the next generation so that they can have it easier. Right. And then health insurance. And, and learning the game of health insurance, and how you could, if you have health insurance, how you can put your parents or someone else that becomes your, what's the word I'm looking for?
Dependent.
Dependent. Right, on your health insurance, so that you don't have that health insurance debt that comes along, or learning how to just be involved in the system in any kind of way. But like we have to educate people about life insurance, health insurance, buying real estate, and having a retirement plan and a succession plan.
Right.
Like that's the answers to the things you said, because a lot of times we always identify what the problems are, but what are the solutions? And those are the solutions.
I think another solution is just doing business together. So I was considering getting into the trucking industry. My father-in-law has a CDL. He has the experience. And so me going off and getting a truck by myself, it's a little bit more risk on the lender. But if I bring in my father-in-law, we partner on that deal, the deal is done. Like, they're like, oh, he has a CDL. Oh, he has 20 years of driving experience. Oh, you have the credit, you have the money. And so a lot of our solutions can be solved by teamwork instead of just depending on one person to save us. And so instead of depending on that guy to do all the work and all the lifting and say, here, grandma, I'm going to put you on my back. It's like, grandma, let's get this house for you. You're already paying rent. Let's just put you in a house and we'll pay off the house over the next 20 years. Maybe you got to get a roommate. Like, we got to be strategic and work together as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's good. So with you guys, with being within this this journey of Hgtv and getting your pilot launched and things like that, what were some lessons that you guys learned throughout this 1.5 or 2 hour journey? I mean, 2-year journey.
Like you said, 2 hour journey.
Yo, seriously, I think one of the biggest things is like, so we have to do our research and analysis and learn the rules of engagement or the game of real estate. We had to do the same thing when it comes to TV and film. Like, what are the rules? Like, what does ownership mean? Because we all know from real estate, you want to own the property. You don't want to rent it. You don't want to be. You want the ownership so you can make decisions and sit at the table. Same thing with a TV show. Like, you want equity in the show or ownership of the show, to be an executive producer or a creator, because most of the money is at the top. The talent only makes so much. And it's not until the talent becomes becomes an executive producer or the creator of the show, that they get a bigger piece of the pie. So no matter what you're deciding to get involved in, whether it's the trucking industry, the real estate industry, or the film industry, you have to figure out the rules of engagement so that you can become an owner of said truck, house, or TV show.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that. I think that's probably the 5th time that you've mentioned the rules, right? Figuring out what the rules are, learning what they are, diving deep into the rules. And I think that that's what's stopping so many people. Either, they don't understand how to find it, how to research it, or just how to understand it. And I had a mentor who shared with me very early on that the game may change, but the rules will stay the same. So as long as you figure out what the rules are, you can be successful in whatever it is that you want to accomplish. So I think, that there's definitely some meat there, diving into the rules of, figuring this thing out.
Right. One of the rules that you mentioned that I think was really interesting that a lot of people might not know about is that I want to say it's the 121 exemption, where if you sell your single family or your personal residence, then you can take like $250,000 of that money tax free. Another rule that you talked about, and this is Anton, I wanted to ask you this question, is you bought your first 3 unit with the FHA and then you refinanced. So I'm assuming that you had to build equity in that in order to refinance. How did you build the equity? Did you build it through just waiting on the equity, or did you force it through rehabbing the property?
One, as soon as I purchased the property, I renovated all of the kitchens and bathrooms. And it was about, maybe 14 months later when I did this refinance. So by that time, most properties, they appreciate it like 3%. Even in the hood. And so there was some built-in equity. It was funny because it was a paramedic. I didn't know this until after the closing. But a Chicago Fire Department paramedic owned the property before me. And he gives me a call from Hot Springs, Arkansas. That's where he moved for his retirement. And he said, and I asked him, how low would you have gone with that property? Because I bought it from you for $153. How low would you have gone? He said, I would have went down to $130. I threw my hands up like, oh man, I wish I had known that. So I say that to say that there was already, built-in equity, right? Mm-hmm. And like right now, I plan on refinancing it, and I intend on refinancing it at a value of $200,000. Again, this is my second time refinancing the property. So I guess to answer your question, renovating the property and just knowing the value of the properties around you, right? Because the comps around me for all the 3 units they're all over the place, from 160 all the way up to 225. Mm-hmm.
So you bought it for $150. How much did you spend in rehab, and then how much was it worth after you rehabbed it?
I spent $5,000 per unit. There's 3 units in the building, so it's about $15,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that the market is hot right now. You mentioned that the market is due for a correction, but you guys are still finding deals. How are you finding deals with equity built in and a market that's performing so high?
All right. So the key, I believe, and it depends on how advanced you are in your journey, right? Because there's certain things we can do that other people can't do now. But it's being able to find properties on short sales, on foreclosures, going to a tax sale. We have something called the Cook County Land Bank, because Chicago sits within Cook County, and I think Detroit is within Wayne County.
Wayne County.
Right. And so I don't know if there's a Wayne County Land Bank.
There's a Detroit Land Bank. Detroit
Land Bank. Okay. So for people who aren't familiar with these land banks, most of the major cities have land banks where you can get properties that are distressed, or sometimes they're in pretty good condition. Every once in a while you can find one that's in pretty good condition, but the taxes just weren't paid on them. And so you can get them below market value. You can get a property that's worth $150,000 for $100,000 and come in and it just needs $5,000 or $10,000 worth of cosmetic work. Usually those are single family homes though. So I mean, it's really trying. You're not going to find fully finished, fully renovated properties below market value. That's not how the game works. For those who are listening who have never done this, like you're going to have to do some work. It's going to take a while. And another thing too is there's not a whole lot of these properties. It may take months or a whole year to locate a property and then actually take possession of it. So did that answer the question?
Yeah.
How do you find the value?
Yeah, it's about being resourceful and finding other avenues to invest and to get started, right? There are people who inbox me all the time and say, oh, I can't find a property, I'm stuck on the MLS. Well, have you tried to, like, as you mentioned, go after excuse me, short sales, foreclosures, tax liens and deeds, Cook County Land Bank or any other land bank, or as well as, building relationships with your local wholesalers or becoming, a local wholesaler, figuring out the different tactics that they use to find off-market deals. So no, you're absolutely right. It's about becoming resourceful and understanding that you are going to have to do some work in terms of, adding value and finding that equity.
Right.
And like I mentioned earlier too, every property that we bought, excluding the condo, which was the very first property, every property we bought, we renovated. There's no way, in my opinion, there's no way of getting around that. If you're trying to find properties that have equity built into it, it's because it's the worst property on the best block. Right? It's a property that's dilapidated or abandoned or whatever situation you found it in. And it's below value because of that, which is why we had to go in and then drop however much money to get it, back up to value.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about that for a second. In regards to renovating. So are you guys also general contractors, or, how do you just manage, your own crews?
Yeah, we just manage our own crews. Like, we behave like general contractors, but we
don't we all?
but what we've done, because for time's sake for us, is we hire general contractors so that they can get the permits and things of that nature, and then we just guide them through exactly what we want. And the thing is, even if you're working with a general contractor, you have to know what you want done. You have to guide them specifically through what you want done, because if you let them just do what they want to do, it may not be in your best interest.
Right.
Yeah. So what has been some challenges by working with the general contractors? Like, are you still working with your GC that you first hired 8 projects ago?
No. And you know what? We pretty much have continued to kind of move around when it comes to contractors. Even though the one we're working with now, I'm pretty confident based on his track record that we'll be working with him for a long time. But no, we've had some issues with contractors. Mainly the issues with contractors is that they sell you on their ability to complete a project, meaning that they have the manpower and the know-how to do what you need done, and then they end up not having the manpower, or that first week you see like 6-7 people working, and then every week they lose a man. Before you know it, there's 2 people working. Like, why is this project?
I want to interject here, just being gender neutral, staffing, because on that project, that first episode of Double Down, we did have a female contractor on there that did our tiling and did a great job on the tiling. You can actually see her in the episode. So just to be, we're very gender neutral over here.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like, I think when you talk about research, like you have to go and look at the contractors work. You need to ask them, where's your last project? Or are you currently working on a project? And then go to that project and see what's going on. And if by chance you can actually talk to whoever it is that owns that property about their experience thus far. That's difficult. You know, but you might accidentally run into whoever owns the property they're currently working on.
Yeah.
And also it's just like having them identify who they, how many people they work for them, what their names are, and what their skill sets are, so that they can tell you, okay, this is what we can do. Like, you have to ask questions, not be afraid to ask questions.
Right.
Some people are just afraid to ask questions. No, this is your money and your time. Ask questions. If they can't answer your questions about the skill set of their employees and how many employees they have and where the last job that they did and pictures of it, or physically allowing you to come to that work site, you probably need to keep on looking for another contract.
Right. I feel like being able to talk to a contractor like that, because, I mean, that takes some boldness right there. Do you think that you were that bold in the beginning, or do you think that you've grown to become that bold to where you can have those?
Grown. Okay. I mean, we've grown in all ways. Like, I know people see us on TV, or they see us on these interviews and stuff like that, and they think that we were like this from the beginning, or always like, no, this is just the finished product. And we're not even finished, right? We're still growing. We're still learning, how to better do what we do. And there's things that I hope that we can learn from you all, that we can add to our toolbox. But you have to ask the hard questions.
Right. I think Rashauna was born that bold, though.
You know what? Probably. Probably.
That's why we plan to work with you one day,
Yeah, I was told that I came into this world grown, and I was very curious growing up, as well as one Greek philosopher, I forget who it was, when I found out that he was actually banned for asking too many questions. You guys know who I'm talking about? No? I'll look it up. I can't remember.
You talking about either Aristotle or I think it's probably Aristotle.
No, it wasn't Aristotle. I'll look it up and I'll let you guys know, and then Charles can add it to the show notes. But he was actually banned. He was exiled from the town for asking too many questions, and the people exiled him because they thought he was just trying to be a smart ass, and they were embarrassed by asking them questions that they didn't know the answers to, when essentially he was just trying to get people to understand that you don't know what you don't know, and asking more questions to find out and to be curious. And then, once I found that out, I was like, oh, I've been doing the right thing from the beginning.
Absolutely. I mean, I think curiosity combined with ambition, combined with the ability to have due diligence, to know the rules, and to ask questions of people who have done what you're trying to do, and then adding value to people, because people, for instance, again, because of this notoriety that we have, we get inboxed and DMs about people who want to work with us or shadow us or intern with us and this, that, and the other. And my first question is, how can you help us?
I know that's
because
right.
Our time is valuable, and we can't just have 100 people marching around with us everywhere we go. We you guys have to add value, and ask. And so I'm always asking questions. So what is it that you're interested in? What is it that you want to do? This, that, and the other. And then I guess we end up telling our story, or we tell them our current strategy on the property that we're about to work on, or the project that we're about to film. And then I hear myself through these questions and answers, really teaching myself all over again.
But that's where it started, right? It started with you going out and taking action and doing things. So instead of someone coming to you and saying, hey, can I shadow you, or can you mentor me? They should actually come and say, hey, this is what I've done. This is what I've tried. This is where I failed. This is what I tried and I'm stuck. And asking specific questions in order to help them get to the next level. I also read something the other day that said, there's so many people out here looking for a mentor, when a mentor actually is the one who finds you. The mentor is the one who sees that this is somebody who is trying and they are investing in themselves. You know, how do you expect somebody to invest in you when you haven't even started investing in yourself yet?
And not only that, I think that people should really approach it with like, what can I do for you? A lot of times they'll see you and they'll say, oh, they're already rich. They don't need to be richer. But maybe they do need some help in getting to the next level, and you could help them get to the next level. So many people want to extract value when they should really plan to add value. That's what I do. Anytime I approach anybody, I'm like, what can I do for you? How can I help you? What can I promote for you? What can I put you onto? As opposed to like, I got this question, because we all get hundreds of people who are like, I need advice. I have a question. What should I do? This is my situation. And I think if you've tried that over and over and it's not working, you should probably try a different strategy. I wanted to ask, because we haven't talked about this before we start wrapping up the show. And my question is, how do you guys manage the dynamic of being firefighters and investors?
Well, this been by trial and error, because I can tell you right now, we're on different shifts, 24-hour shifts. So that has, in a way, is helped us be at the property, either be omnipresent at the property all the time, because our contractors don't know, or always will assume, I should say, that we're going to be around to see what's going on. And we work 8 days a month as firefighters, 8 24-hour shifts a month.
Really?
And so that has been probably the most God-sent part of being firefighters, because if we worked 9 to 5s, I don't know how we could have gotten through all of these projects.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just a blessing to have the schedule that we have, and then for us to have, schedules where one of us is always available. And then, the other thing too is like having that income, that steady income, that every 2 week, that W-2, helped in the very beginning with, establishing the credit, saving up the money, and being able to attain the financing to do all those projects in the beginning.
Yeah.
So it's been great. We've been blessed, and we're not fools. We understand. We were born into special circumstances. We were literally born into a special circumstance, having each other, and then the firefighter career, and then the Hgtv opportunity, and then also the stuff that we got baking right now that we really can't talk about right now. But this summer is about to be amazing too, because of the stuff that we're going to be filming in it over the summer. So it won't stop, can't stop. Check out thedownerbrothers.com. The Downer Brothers on Instagram, and check out what we're doing.
Yeah, and I think it's great that you mentioned the power of leverage, right? Because now in today's day and age, everybody wants to just up and quit their jobs and go be a full-time entrepreneur without having a real plan in place. While at the same time, you can just, stay where you are, ride it out, and create a plan to help you strategically pivot, to the next levels, right? I mean, you guys are on TV and you still, are working your jobs, even though you have an interesting schedule, but you're able to leverage that and leverage the relationship that you have, because like you said, when one person is working, one person is available, and you're able to make it work. It's about making it work with what you currently have. Mm-hmm. So I'm proud of you guys. I'm excited to, just see what you've accomplished so far, and then what you're going to do in the future. I mean, we need more and more successful Black brothers, to be in this position and say, like, this is how we started. This is why we started. And, this is what we're doing today. We figured it out. We did our research. We talked to the lenders. We wrote those letters. We kept our jobs. We kept our credit up so we could be in a position to refinance. And, it's just like a snowball effect. But I'm excited to see you guys, do what you're doing. So thank you guys so much for being on the show. I know Charles has a couple of last minute wrap up questions that he wants to leave off with.
So I'm going to fire these off at you really quick. I think I know the answer to the first one. The first question is, what is your best real estate advice?
Get a twin.
Do your research. Learn the rules of the game. and then go out and make it happen.
Right.
Yeah, there's a reason why we have these shirts that say dream, plan, execute, because, you know, having a dream, you then need to have a plan, a fleshed out plan, and then you need to execute that plan. Like, not sit on it for years and years thinking about it, but actually do it, even if it doesn't work out right the first time.
I'm glad you talked to the shirts, and I knew that was going to be the answer to that question. Who is somebody you look up to and why?
Me, I look up to my mother. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I look at my mother moving to a country that she had never been to, and she, you know, my father, you know, Chicago police officer, public servant, you know, he was always there, but it was my mother that was the one who said, let's go buy this house, let's go buy this other property, let's go do this renovation, let's make these moves in the Bahamas, let work 2 jobs, manage a renovation, and then she also has 5 sons. Like, I look at when my mother, she juggled so many things. It's like, how could I not possibly be able to do what I'm trying to do or what we're currently doing? When I look back at everything that she was juggling. And then she's always there to remind us, back 20 years ago, I was doing X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. And then she really gets pissed off, that Bahamian accent comes out. But that's my answer. That's my hero, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yep, I second that.
What is your favorite business book?
Or real estate.
Yeah, or real estate.
Well, you know, I started off like a lot of other people, man. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You know, and then I looked at the quadrants, and I looked at, you know, that's when I learned. When I read that book, I learned the difference between the asset and the liability,
right? And
how you want more assets than liabilities, or that you want to have an asset that pays for the liabilities that you want in your life. Because there's certain liabilities, like a nice car or fancy clothes or vacations. Those are all liabilities. But do you have an asset like a piece of property that's paying for those liabilities? So that Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah. And how old were you when you read it?
I was in high school, so I was probably about maybe 16. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was high school. You sure that was that far back?
Anton, like, I was there. I don't remember that.
I mean, I remember being in high school, but I feel like, okay, we graduated from high school a semester early in January of 2000, and I feel like it might have been more towards the end of our high school, but either way, it was definitely high school.
I read the book before he did. That's why I do everything first. I read the book.
Oh my God!
I put it down. Really? He finally got to it senior year.
That's funny.
So what made you guys read the book? Like, how'd you even find out about it?
I think our stepfather gave us that book.
Yeah, I think it was because he was a loan officer and he was making a lot of money too. Remember, this is way before the recession. He was making hand over fist money as a loan officer, and he was big on real estate, just like my mother. And then
in fact, shout out Gordon Mosley. He's from Detroit. You know, he brought that Detroit energy to Chicago real estate game. So, you know, rest in peace. You know.
Yeah. Peace.
What sets apart successful investors from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
I don't know. I think a passion for wanting to make their life better, passion for seeing a dream in their mind become reality, passion that is such a big fire that no amount of adversity can put it out. You know, so it's like you have to really be about this life. It can't be a part-time thing. It may start off as a part-time thing because of a full-time job, but it has to be a full-time, thing that you think about.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
So,
Anton, you second that, or?
I'm just thinking back in my life, and Anthony graduated from college on time. Okay, I did not, and And I was thinking, we live in a frat house. I really enjoy being down here. It doesn't matter that I'm going to stay down here for another year. And then most of my frat brothers and friends left, and Champaign did not feel as fun anymore. Then I was like, okay, I'm about to be serious, because I want to be in Chicago now. But it has to be, sometimes we have to be in a place where you're fed up with your situation.
Right.
Absolutely.
Which fraternity?
Iota Phi Theta.
Okay.
Incorporated.
Nice.
Ow.
Very cool. I'm Phi Beta Sigma. So anyway, where can people find out more about you guys? Where can they find you online? Where can they follow you? Where can they support what you're doing?
They can find us on Instagram, the Downing Brothers, Facebook, the Downing Brothers, the internet, thedowningbrothers.com, and Twitter also, the Downing Bros.
Okay.
And YouTube, right? Are you guys on YouTube?
Oh, and we're developing our YouTube right now.
Okay. Right. We haven't rolled it out yet.
Yeah, we haven't rolled that out, but when it comes out, people are going to get to see a lot of content of firsthand us in the properties doing the renovations and things of that nature. And we have a lot of exciting things that's going to be on that YouTube as far as the work that we're doing in renovation and TV. So yeah, be on the lookout for that.
So just Google the Downing Brothers, pretty much.
Yes, and then you can see all the articles and everything that's been written about us.
Nice.
Okay, cool.
Any closing remarks, Rashauna?
Actually, yes.
I'm sorry, but before we go,
Kanye.
I do. I'm gonna let you finish. I just want to put this book up right here, Landlording on Autopilot. I've got a lot from this book, so
I'll have to check that out.
I'm gonna come borrow it.
Let's see. The author is Mike Butler. So, can you see that?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. Let me know when you finish it, Anton. I'm gonna come pick it up.
I'll give it to you. No problem.
So yes, a closing remark. Again, thank you guys so much for being on the show. And then Anton, you actually reminded me of something that I used to say all the time that I haven't said in a while, which is people don't grow up until they have to. And I realized that, I grew up very early because I was tired and fed up within my situation. And so I was like, well, what do I have to do to get to where I want to be or where I need to be? And, I think that is one thing that is, I guess you can say, holding a lot of younger people back is that, they're still being babied. And and I think, when you get in a position or when you get to a point in life where, you're ready to grow up, that's when, you start to take things serious and you start to change. So
what events do you have going on, Rashauna? Where can people find out what you have going on?
So I'm Rashauna Scott everywhere. I made it easy for you guys to follow me, so you can Google me as well. But Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all Rashauna Scott across every platform. As far as events, I do have some speaking events coming up. So I'll be in Atlanta, New York, Miami, and I have another event in Chicago. But if you guys go to my Instagram, you can see all of those flyers and pluggers there.
Very cool. So this has been episode number 105. Anybody interested in joining the investment club, email us at membership@capitaltide.com. Check out the website, www.capitaltide.com, and also support this show by supporting the store, which can be found at www.gumroad.com/Tide Capital. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Tide Millionaire, signing off.